Hello and welcome to yet another episode of the In-Depth series. My name is Pooja Thewedi. Today we are going to discuss an extremely interesting topic. Progressive parents are now not bringing up babies. They are bringing up Theybies. What is the concept of Theybies? We will delve into that. Now, the woke and progressive society that the West generally manifests and the European culture is also now manifesting. They want their children to not be restricted to two genders. They want their children to determine their gender. What is the difference between sex and gender? That is also important for us to know, because it is important that when we are developing as a society, a stagnant mind will become a rotting mind. It's okay if you have certain ideologies. It's okay if you have been brought up in some way or the other. But it is also okay that you grasp the new knowledge. So before we begin, just free your mind of any sort of biases and let's talk about babies. One thing that intrigues me, baby in itself is a gender neutral term. What was the reason for putting a they between these? Theybies. Let's talk about that. Theybies is actually a combination of the neutral pronoun they and the word baby. A parenting style it is which is popular with woke and privileged people who are progressive in nature. What does it involve? It does not involve any sort of physical manifestation, but it's something of very conceptual in nature. Like it is said that a woman is not born, she is made. She is made with the help of, or she is conditioned or molded with whatever environment has been created by our society. There is a difference between gender and there is between gender and sex. And another thing is that you have to understand it from both the perspective, okay? So it involves foregoing gender-specific names, pronouns, toys, clothes and other paraphernalia, which shows that one person belongs to this sort of gender. Okay, so a child will, instead of being identified as a boy or a girl, they will be gender neutral, like they. Okay, so the child will instead develop the identity that suits them best when they feel ready to explore it. Okay, so we have to understand that it is from that perspective only. It is a movement which is being observed across the world where progressive parents are trying to raise babies as gender neutral as they can. Moving ahead. Now, why are parents opting for this? The kind of world we are living in, we have to understand that there are certain things that a woman is expected to do and a man is expected to do. A man is not in our society expected to put makeup on, whereas women are encouraged to put makeup on. The industry of makeup generally targets the women population and not the male population. But now we are seeing many influencers who are changing these norms. Males and men who are interested in putting makeup on, despite their orientation, their sexual orientation, their gender preferences, are doing so. And it is not easy for people like them to survive in this water compartmentalized society. So this is the problem. So you see, it is when one raises their child as not being restricted to being of any gender, they are providing a way of, for self-determination. Maybe these parents did not have that choice. It is also a very good way to free the children of gender biases which might otherwise plague them from infancies. A country like us, India, and I must say that many South Asian and Southeast Asian countries, they still frown upon the birth of a girl child. How? See, there are certain researchers which have shown that adults underestimate female children's motor skills at just 11 months of age. If one does not tell the gender of the baby or the assigned sex of the baby, these kind of biases will not be there. This is what the concept is behind raising babies. So the decision to raise babies comes from a mix of research and personal experience. Personal experience like gender stereotypes they have hurt children. This is very true. If a boy child plays with a doll, it's frowned upon. If a girl child plays with a tank or a gun, that is also frowned upon. So these are certain things that we have to ensure that we know the difference between sex and gender. What is sex? Sex is it belongs to humans. It can be given to humans, non-human animals and cells as well. And if we talk about gender is very unique to humans. Okay. Then we come to the sex. Sex is typically binary. It could be either male or female. It belongs to, it is decided by the many biological manifestations. Like what? Like genitalia. So through that we can understand the assigned sex at birth. For gender, it is multifaceted and complex. It's a spectrum. People can be transsexual, people can be agender, they can be pangender, they can be pansexual, they can be non-binary. So there are many genders. And we have to embrace everyone because we are living in a world where people like this, people like them exist. So there is nothing we can, we cannot hate on them just because they are belonging to a certain spectrum. That is really not, a civilized society doesn't do that. Also, this gender can be a male or female, intersex as well. It is dependent on biology, anatomy, the physical manifestation, physiology, chromosomes, hormones as well, testosterone, estrogen, gene expression and behavior. When it comes to gender, it can change over time. It exists exists on a continuum. It is and can differ from sex. If a person who has been assigned male as at birth, but the expression is very feminine, and the person identifies as a woman, then there is a difference. Also, gender can be either, if we go to the extreme of the spectrum, it can be feminine and masculine and in between as well. Pronouns there are such as her, him, they, and many other pronouns. Social, cultural, psychological, political behavior roles. This all makes up the gender. As a woman is expected to take on household work, this is a womanly job. In gender society, the men do the work which is related to outside chores. That's a male job. This is what? This is societal. In certain cultures also, what happens that a woman is, suppose we take our Indian culture. Still there is a norm, not only Indian, Southeast Asian culture. Still, women are supposed to be the primary caregivers, and there is no denying that women are the primary caregivers. In the first few months, the child needs the mother the most. That is definitely true. But that does not make the father to be aloof from what and how the child might need them, the mother might need them. In a general, you can say, the gender society, this is a very nascent phase. In a general society, the mother is expected to leave the work, stay at home, take care of the child. Whereas a father, if he chooses to stay at home and take care of the child and not go to work while the mother goes to the work, then that is frowned upon. So this is cultural. This is just for example. And it is happening since many decades. I'm not going to say that it is going to change over time in a heartbeat or in a blink of the eye. That's not going to happen. But yes, we have to ensure that our minds remain open. Okay, so these are the many things that we had to know. History of gender identity. The term gender identity first appears in the 1960s, we can say. It back then was a person's inner sense of belongingness to the either category of male or female. Now it has changed to person's own sense of their gender, regardless of the sex a doctor assigned to them at birth. In many places now, we generally see in the West, gender reveal parties are very common. So there also now, they are foregoing such practices. Some terms such as transsexual, they have also changed meaning over time. In the past, the term referred only to people who had undergone certain medical procedures such as mastectomy or phalloplasty. They now include people moving towards or having a gender identity that is different from the one that has been assigned to them at birth. So this is how we do it. There are many positive impacts when one is being raised as a gender neutral person. They are growing into creative, free-spirited children and young adults because they are free to do many things. But there is also cons to it. We are going to talk about that as well. They generally do not allow societal expectations to dictate their individuality and have even stood up to many bullies at school. The thing is that it's a very complex, there is a very thin line between being a young, free-spirited individual and respecting the collectiveness of the society. Human is a social animal. In general, we also say this is the part of nature. We are all a part of nature. If one does not actually act according to the society, what do? What they are, how they are dealt with. They are generally ostracized. They are spoken harshly to. They might not be able to enjoy that kind of respect if they would have, abided by the general laws of the society. This is what the society is. This is something, a force which is actionary will of course get a reactionary force. But we have to ensure that this is a human right. This is a human right. A person needs to develop oneself at the fullest. And if a person is not being able to do so because they are restricted in a tight section, then this is a denial of human rights. This is how you have to think. These are, of course, whatever I am telling you, I have read it from certain articles and I am telling you. I am not here projecting my personal or any sort of personal thoughts because that is not my job to do. My job here is to just tell you what I have read and how you must think as a bureaucrat. You're free to think however you would like. To become a bureaucrat, how you must think, I'm just telling you that. I'm telling you, go through the pros, go through the cons, also understand how the world is changing and what impact it will have in the future, because we are going to deal with all this in the future as well. Moving ahead, now if we talk about the issues, certain experts believe that if some parents are taking it too far by hiding or not revealing their child's gender to anyone, how the baby would cope once they enter the gendered world, because it is a binary gendered world. If I'm going to be very clear here, there is male and female. The majority of the population believes that. Minority doesn't. It could lead to them being bullied and having a tough time in the society. There is a chance that it will create a sense of difference because they will be raised differently from the majority of the babies. So there is a higher chance of being bullied. And of course, there is also a higher chance of them not getting as many opportunities as they would have. If it has gone too far. The world needs a lot of time to change right now. It is not going to happen in the next few years. It will take decades and decades to understand this concept and implement it. Okay, like feminism, how distorted it became. Feminism is not something that woman is above a man. It's the equality. The man was here in the sense they were preferred more by job seekers. They are getting higher pay. They are getting more freedom when it comes to out of the house, even in the house. So the women who were at the receiving end of all this, they wanted to be at par, treated equally, not man thrashing. Men thrashing is never, it wasn't ever the concept behind feminism. It is equality. Okay. And how distorted it was, this concept has also a lot of potential to be distorted. One must think rationally and free of biases. So I hope you understood this topic very well. That is it. Thank you so much for watching.